All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking real music in real time for real people just like you and just like me. All right, this is Decoy, and the album is called Without Warning, courtesy of my buddy Tom Mathers and his record label Paris, American record label based in Texas. Decoy features guitarist Torben Enevoldsen, who also worked with Acacia Avenue and Pinnacle Point with Jerome Mazza. And thanks to Torben, I think Jerome Mazza is a little more of a household name, although Jerome is very talented on his own. But that original project was just so cool. And he's back on this one, writing the songs, doing the production, doing the arrangements. And it's kind of like Judas Priest and Rainbow, and it's got some things going on. It's kind of hard to describe, but you should check out Decoy. It's for, the more traditional hard rock or heavy metal fan. And again, the production value, pretty strong, and the guitar work, really good. One of the reasons I'm promoting it is because I don't get a lot of CDs. Record labels don't send them out. So I want to thank Tom for sending this out. And you should patronize his record label, even if you don't like Decoy. Go check out his other offerings. And my guess is you might find something that you like. All right. Getting into this topic here, and I've been covering this for a while. Eddie Van Halen versus Taylor Hawkins, and tribute concerts, and who was liked in the industry and who apparently wasn't liked in the industry. And more, this is starting to look like a personality issue. Like, everybody liked Taylor Hawkins. I honestly didn't know really that much about him till he died. And then, the way he died raises a lot of questions that the media obviously are not all that interested in. They got a tox report or whatever, and then they just went in that direction. Someone had reached out to me after Taylor passed away and said, you talk a lot about The Thing on your channel, and well, I think Taylor went out and did The Thing, and nobody, of course, is connecting the dots. And it's really inconvenient for that crowd to look at something like that. It's so counter what they believe. It's against their narrative, even if it means like saving lives. This is the mind-blowing thing of what's been going on now for almost 3 years. Almost 3 years. It'll be 3 years, like January, February. And it just, these people, they don't care. They don't care if this is happening, because they truly believe that this is somehow for the greater good, or it's too bad. Some people are going to have to die, while others, who aren't doing the thing, those are the people we need to target. And if you're a real tinfoil hat guy, you would think, so they're targeting people. They seem to want people not to be here anymore. And Taylor Hawkins was this, I guess, really beloved figure. I didn't know that much about him. And I know everybody's like, you didn't know that much. It's like Dave Grohl. Everybody's like, well, Dave Grohl, Nirvana, Foo Fighters. Dave Grohl, he's like the ambassador. He's today's ambassador to rock and roll, where I would probably put that label on Sammy Hagar more than anybody else. But again, I'm not from that era. I mean, I guess, I wasn't that old when Nirvana came out, wasn't impressed. And then all of those bands, which to me kind of ruined music, because everybody went in that direction and you couldn't go in multiple directions anymore. You couldn't coexist. You couldn't have like Nirvana and Mr. Big. Couldn't have that anymore. Couldn't have Firehouse and Soundgarden. You'd have just one, but not both. And the ones that disappeared were the ones that were doing melodic music you could sing to, big hair, spandex, whatever. Look, I'm not a fan of spandex, but I'm just saying it was a style. And that style to me seemed like it was fun and more accessible for more people. Although it doesn't cost a lot of money, right, to buy ripped jeans and a flannel shirt. So maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know. And the hairspray, you know, you can have matted hair and wake up, have bedhead in the morning and be in style, whereas the other look required work. So again, an end of an era. The music couldn't coexist. And people are always getting on me. Well, you know, Dave Grohl, he's really good and he's cool and this and that. I don't have a problem with Dave Grohl. I just wonder. Here's a little statistic, right? So Dave Grohl was in a band where the lead singer died, right? And then he's in another band where the drummer died. Is it a coincidence? Sure, it's a coincidence, but the publicity centers around these people who are no longer here. And if you are looking at the Talks report and what happened with Taylor Hawkins, you think to yourself, okay, well, maybe somebody should go out there and do a little PSA on drug usage. And you can dig up interviews with Taylor Hawkins where he's trying to kick the habit, but basically tells everybody to kind of F off and this is what I do. And he's got a family, he's got kids and all that. And I'm like, man, I think we can do better as a society, even if you're, you know, really into this culture. At some point, you got to say, maybe we should at least put out some kind of message to people that this isn't the way to live your life. He was only 50 years old. And he was so well liked in the industry by everybody. Whereas I don't think Eddie Van Halen was all that well liked. I mean, you got Sammy Hagar talking about the days when he and Michael Anthony would have these really long conversations and Eddie was left out and Eddie didn't like it and he was jealous. And you got David Lee Roth saying that, you know, he was Eddie Van Halen was culturally illiterate. And obviously Dave is the master of everything, you know, jack of all trades, but really master of, I can't say that because obviously martial arts, EMT, the guy is kind of a weird Renaissance man to some degree, but he's very weird. And that explains why Roth never did this real, you know, sorrowful video about Ed and how close they were, because they weren't close. And apparently Ed wasn't that close to Sammy for most of the time. And Sammy came back and left again, and things got worse. And then throw Alex into the mix here as well. So you compare these two guys, Taylor Hawkins, really well liked in the industry. Eddie Van Halen, not liked in the industry. You've got tribute concerts for Taylor Hawkins. You've got zero for Eddie Van Halen. Who was the more influential musician? Well, Ed, 10-1. Ed was 10 times more influential than Taylor Hawkins as a musician. But Taylor Hawkins was super well liked. And drummers apparently liked his style, liked his work. I just never got into this music. I don't understand it. I got into Van Halen, obviously, and I liked both the Dave and the Sam versions of Van Halen. I never liked Nirvana, and I never really got into the Foo Fighters, and I don't understand what the big deal is, why everybody's like, ooh, the Foo Fighters, you know. I don't get it. And then people say, yeah, that's classic rock, the Foo Fighters and Nirvana, that's classic rock. And I'm just like, how is it classic? Because it's old, because it's starting to get old. And to me, because it's old doesn't mean it's a classic. In fact, I believe it doesn't have to be old to be a classic. It has to have a certain sound quality. And I would say any music made from the 1950s up until the early 1990s. And yes, there are exceptions to that rule. But generally speaking, that is the heyday of what I consider classic rock. And certain attributes make it classic rock. So, you know, when I look at why there isn't an Eddie Van Halen tribute, it might have to do with the fact that it's water under the bridge. It's old news. Van Halen wasn't really cool anymore, even though millions of fans disagree with that, whereas the Foo Fighters were current. They had an album out there, and they were touring, and then all of a sudden there is no Taylor Hawkins anymore. And people ought to question what happened there. They should. All this energy that they're putting into the tribute concerts, and constantly I hear musicians saying how much they miss him and this and that. Well, why don't you honor somebody's memory by maybe helping someone else? Seriously. Or breaking the silence about what's going on out there. And so you take a little bit of grief, right? If you've got millions of dollars anyway, what difference does it make? You can do it and say, look, I really cared about this guy, and I think it's important to know what really happened to him. But you notice nobody's really talking about that. Whereas we all know what happened to Eddie Van Halen, and it's pretty clear cut. But with Taylor Hawkins, there's a little bit of intrigue there, but nobody wants to explore that. So in any event, folks, definitely a reason why, Eddie Van Halen isn't getting a tribute concert. And it appears all of the dysfunction is only a fraction of the issue, whereas Taylor Hawkins was well liked and didn't have the number of people coming forward saying, oh, I couldn't work with that guy, or he was jealous of my talent, or you've got people coming forward saying stuff about Eddie Van Halen, and it's kind of depressing because even though Ed might have been a little difficult to work with, I believe he deserves a tribute. He deserves a tribute, and then that'll be the end of that, right? So in any event, that's the video here. Taylor Hawkins and Eddie Van Halen. Here's Decoy again. And Without Warning, check it out. Paris, Perris Records. That's your record label that is putting this out there. And Tom Mathers, who works for that record label, is the CEO. Nice gentleman. Works hard to keep this music alive. He was in a band, I know that, who I think is on the label, and you can go check out Tom's band from a long time ago. I don't know if he was in other bands, but not only does he run the record label, but he's also a guy who appreciates the music that he's putting out there. So good for him. Thanks for watching, folks. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications on new videos, and Patreon for $1, $2 a month, whatever you can afford. Also, check me out over on Rumble and Odyssey, and I will see you soon.